Edmund Burns was a popular leading man of 1920s silent films that easily made the transition to talkies in the early 30s, but after just a few leading roles, he shifted into supporting roles and then into a few bit parts before leaving the movies altogether in 1936. What happened? Join me as I investigate. Edmund was born in 1892 in Philadelphia. While I could not find any information about his early life, I could only assume that somewhere along the way he obviously became interested in acting because by the time he was 23, he had already moved to Los Angeles and in 1915 appeared as an extra in D.W. Griffith's Birth of a Nation. His career in the 19-teens is a little confusing because sometimes he is credited as Edmund Burns and sometimes as Edward Burns. Between 1917 and 1919, he appeared in 15 films at Select Pictures, World Pictures, General Films, and Vitagraph, supporting such stars as Alice Brady, Elsie Ferguson, Catherine Calvert, and Corinne Griffith. Later in 1919, he made an impression in two major studio pictures, both at Paramount. First, he supported Wallace Reed in The Love Burglar, and later supported Gloria Swanson, Thomas Meehan, and Lila Lee in Male and Female, as one of the members of the group of society friends that get shipwrecked on a desert island. Edmund's performances in both of these films, along with his matinee idol good looks, elevated him to romantic leading man status by 1920, beginning with Pegging, in which he romanced Bessie Love, and Eyes of the Heart, in which he romanced Mary Miles Minter. These two films began a string of successes for Edmund as the leading man to some of Hollywood's biggest star actresses, including Shirley Mason, Constance Talmadge, Gladys Walton, Mae Murray, and again, Gloria Swanson, whom he starred opposite 1924's The Hummingbird, which got him good reviews. 1926 proved to be a particularly successful year for Edmund. He starred as an archaeologist boyfriend to Leatrice Joy in Made for Love, a debonair theater owner that rescues Vera Reynolds in Sunny Side Up, and a hero that comes to the aid of a threatened Anita Stewart in Whispering Wires. 1927 saw Edmund being top billed for the first time in the Tiffany Pictures film The Princess from Hoboken, and he also had a major starring role in First Division's Shamrock and the Rose. Edmund continued to play leading men to many star actresses for the rest of the 1920s, including in the part Talkie in 1929, She Goes to War, in which he starred opposite Eleanor Boardman, before later that year starring in his first full-length Talkie, the lost film Hard to Get, opposite Dorothy McHale. His first surviving Talkie, also from 1929, was Tan to Legs, in which he shed his romantic hero image to play the dastardly Clifton Darrow out to get the money of Janet, played by Sally Blaine. He then starred with Dorothy McHale again in The Love Racket, and with Mary Philbin in her final film, 1930's After the Fog. After this point is kind of the point where Edmund shifts into B-movies at Poverty Row Studios for the rest of his career. But in 1931, saw Edmund star in his biggest talkie film, as the wrongfully accused, escaped fugitive Richard Charters in the Continental Pictures Sea Adventure Sea Devils opposite Molly O'Day. This movie has been wonderfully restored by Grapevine Video, and I cannot recommend it enough to purchase on DVD, as it showcases Edmund's talents the best, in my opinion. After Sea Devils, Edmund drifted into supporting roles with an occasional lead for the next 2 years. He was a murder victim in 1931's The Devil Plays, but then was leading man to Estelle Taylor in 1932's The Western Limited. 1932's short comedy gem, False Impressions, saw Edmund in his last major credited role, starring as a butler that pretends to be his boss to impress some society ladies who are also pretending to be someone else as well. For the next 4 years, Edmund appeared in small, supporting, and sometimes uncredited roles in 21 more movies. Notable appearances included a brief scene opposite Clara Bow and Thelma Todd in Call Her Savage in 1932, appearing as Ruth Chatterton's secretary in the 1933 Preco classic Female, and if you don't blink, you can see him as the best man in the wedding scene of It Happened One Night in 1934. In 1936, Edmund was one of the many silent stars that appeared in Hollywood Boulevard. He retired from the movies for good after making Murder with Pictures later that same year. In 1934, Edmund had married Ruth Curry and took over management of the California resort Camp Baldy, which had fallen into her hands after the death of her first husband in 1932. The resort, which hosted a casino, ski slopes, and lots of other entertainment, was a popular destination until it was unfortunately destroyed by a flood in 1938. However, Edmund and Ruth managed to reopen and rebuild a smaller resort and operated that until they sold it in 1946 and retired both together. While I can only assume that Edmund enjoyed a quiet retirement with his wife after they sold Camp Baldy, there is little information about it. However, in 1957, Edmund appeared on This Is Your Life, the popular television series in which famous stars were greeted by figures from their past. Edmund appeared in the episode honoring his old co-star, Gloria Swanson. In 1980, Edmund passed away at the age of 87 in Los Angeles. So, we are left with the question, why did Edmund's career falter in the talkies after such a successful transition? My opinion is that the studios just didn't really know what to do with him. Edmund had made a successful career out of playing the handsome romantic young man, and as he aged out of that persona, it was difficult for him to find another one. While he proved in Tan Legs that he could play the villain, and in Sea Devils that he could play a more grown-up heroic leading man, he was unable to really carve out a niche for himself in the talkies, unfortunately. Another reason could be the fact that Edmund was a very subtle actor, choosing for slight, more nuanced reactions rather than the very expressive dramatics of the majority of his peers at the time in the early talkies. Either way, he was very talented, and it was a shame that his talkie career didn't progress more, but Edmund appeared to be happy enough to just leave it all behind and enjoy the outdoors with his wife at the resort, and then to continue to enjoy life with her even after that. Be sure to check out some of his silent films on YouTube and try to get a copy of the Grapevine video DVD of Sea Devils. You will not be disappointed. Please like this video and subscribe or follow this account if you want to learn more about the history of silent film stars whose stardom lasted only briefly in the talkies. Up next, join me as I cover the silent to talkie career of Olive Borden. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a great rest of your week.